On an ordinary farm in Scotland, scientists say a clone was created from a single cell taken from the udder of a sheep. The embryo was then implanted in a surrogate, making an exact genetic copy of its so-called mother. Scientists hail it as a triumph for research in aging, medicine, and genetics.
Cloning has come a long way since scientists first cloned Dolly the sheep back in the 90s. It was a huge breakthrough, taking an adult cell and basically reprogramming it to create a whole new animal. Pretty wild stuff, right? Fast forward to today, and cloning tech has gotten way more advanced. We're talking about stuff like CRISPR gene editing, where scientists can go in and precisely snip and swap genes to modify DNA. It's like a super precise cut and paste for genetics. And then there's 3D bioprinting, where specialized printers can lay down layers of cells to build organs and tissues from scratch. So where is all this headed? Well, more than half of Americans think we'll probably clone a human by 2050.
Let's all go out for some frosty chocolate milkshakes.
Well, the truth is, human cloning really isn't that interesting. In movies, it's always more fantastical than how actual human cloning would work, if it were a thing. The idea of a clone coming out immediately as a fully grown adult, especially ones with memories and shit, that would be significantly more difficult to do than standard cloning and may not even be possible. When they cloned a sheep in the 90s, it was basically just another baby sheep. In simplest terms, human cloning would just be an artificially created identical twin. And in essence, that is the reason that despite biotechnology now being advanced enough that it could theoretically be done, there is no incentive to do it. There's just no utility to it. There's no reason for governments or corporations to waste any resources trying to do it. In science fiction, the idea of clone armies, like in Attack of the Clones, that kind of thing, involve the clones either being created immediately as fully grown adults or clones that grow up very quickly. And that is far more advanced biotechnology than just cloning would be, especially in stories where clones somehow have all the memories of the original. The ability to transfer memories from one brain to another is not something that has any basis in reality. In reality, a clone would just be a baby, which doesn't really benefit anyone. You could just have people have 100 kids if you wanted to build a massive army and raise children to be soldiers or something weird like that. And obviously there's also ethical concerns, the main one being just the basic mental health and self-esteem of someone who is a clone. Like if you knew you were just a copy of someone else, it is possible this would make you feel like you are less valid as a human being. Even though there's nothing that would make you call it less valid to be human, it's just it might feel that way. I think it could cause self-esteem issues for people who are clones. They wouldn't really have any less value as a human, any more than a set of identical twins would somehow be less valued as people, because there are two of them. If I was a legislator, and I was deciding whether or not it should be legal or not, I think my main concern would be the basic mental health of potential clones.
And she's like, these dinosaurs are clones, and I'm a clone, and we do have the same rights as other endangered species. Which, like, thank you, that's applicable to daily life. Nice moral. I mean, the thing about the question, should clones have equal rights, is that it's a stupid and uninteresting question. The question of whether it's ethical to make human clones is like its own thing. But once the clone is already made, I don't think you're gonna find a lot of people arguing that the clone should not have equal rights. I mean, this isn't Victorian England. I feel like in 2018, the question, should clones have equal rights, is like asking, should people conceived through in vitro fertilization have equal rights? You're just like,
Another issue with cloning, if you look into Dolly the sheep that was born in the 90s, that sheep had a lot of health problems. Dolly died relatively young. The theorized reason for this was that the sheep was born with shorter telomeres. Telomeres are repetitive DNA sequences that cap the ends of chromosomes, protecting them from deterioration and fusion with neighboring chromosomes. As cells divide, their telomeres naturally shorten due to the incomplete replication of DNA during mitosis. This process is known as telomere shortening. Telomere shortening is a natural part of the aging process, as it occurs in all cells of the body. Something in the cloning process caused Dolly the sheep to be born with already short telomeres leading to its short lifespan. Messing with genetics and cells on that microscopic level in order to create clones leaves very little room for error. Though it should be noted that since Dolly, many other sheep have been cloned and have not had this issue. These clones were able to age normally and live full lives. There is a company that claims to clone dogs and horses. I'm not sure why. With horses, I guess it makes some sense. If people have a specific racehorse they want to clone. But with dogs, you could just get a dog of the same breed.
Let's clone us some dog! Yeah!
I'm sure all these companies are legitimate, but if it came out that they were just scamming people and giving them dogs and cats of the same breed as the one they wanted cloned, I wouldn't be too surprised.
It's all computerized. Technology. They're cloning sheep now.
No, they're not cloning sheep. It's the same sheep. I saw Harry Blackstone do that trick with 2 goats and a handkerchief on the old Teen Martin show.
One possible practical use for cloning would be as an alternative to surrogacy or adoption. A Pew Research Center survey found that 33% of American adults report that they or someone they know has used some type of fertility treatment in order to try to have a baby. And the World Health Organization reports that 1 in 6 people globally are affected by infertility. Adoption waiting lists can be exceptionally high. And surrogacy is said to be an industry market valued at $14 billion annually. With this in mind, the idea of people choosing cloning as an alternative doesn't seem too far-fetched. In this situation, instead of looking to adoption or hiring a surrogate, people having trouble conceiving a child together would just order a clone of a specific person. Instead of adopting a random kid, people could get a clone of Tom Brady to raise as their own son. That could be like a weird future dystopia, where instead of how there are certain name trends, where a random name will become popular because of a TV show. You know, like how Khaleesi became a popular name for newborns for a few years because Game of Thrones was popular. Instead of that, you have waves of clones, where suddenly some celebrity is cloned like 500 times, and kids grow up and are in class with like 5 other Tom Bradys. I suppose perfecting human cloning, while in and of itself doesn't have much purpose or utility, other than at most an alternative to adoption or something, it could be a first step toward a Gattaca-type future. Once science is able to clone people, it probably isn't far off from genetic engineering and designer babies like in the movie Gattaca. One thing that might be interesting is cloning people to study nature versus nurture. Like imagine cloning Ted Bundy and then just watching from afar to see if he grows up to become a serial killer again. Could be a way to learn what aspects of who a person is are genetic and what are situational. It might be a bad idea to clone a bunch of serial killers, though.